Good evening, it's Jonathan here with another YouTube video, and tonight we're looking at the night sky. This evening here in Harare at Would You Have It NASA at Big Tree Harare, we're taking time out to think about the night sky and some of the best software that can help you with your stargazing. So, we're here on Linux Mint. As you may have seen my previous couple of videos on Linux themes. Tonight we're delving into an actual application, Stellarium software, Stellarium astronomy software. It's free. I think there's a paid option if you want to get the full program, but the free version is more than enough for most people. For most circumstances, you don't need to pay a cent for the free version. You can get a long way with it. So here on Linux Mint, we're looking at a desktop wallpaper of the Eta Carina, the Carina Nebula rather. I'm not sure if it's Eta Carina, but they just call it the Carina Nebula. We'll have to think about that a bit. But we'll go over some of the documents on my desk a bit later. But for the moment, fire up your Linux operating system and install Stellarium. You can Google that. I'm sure you can find out how to install it. And then we've got it installed. We're just going to fire it up. Stellarium 26.1. I think it's the latest version. It's also got a website, stellarium.org, stellarium.org, and it takes a bit of time to load all the different aspects to the program, but once it's loaded, it actually runs quite fast. Okay, here we are. This is what Stellarium looks like during the day. So I'm just going to there's a couple of ways to fast forward, but if you go to the left edge of the screen and the bottom of the screen, some menus pop up. And there's also a menu at the top of the screen in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And we're looking south here. You can drag the mouse across the program to across the desktop, so to speak. You've got a horizon there, and we're looking south, indicated by that S. Anyway, to get the menus a bit clearer, we're going to go a couple of hours further into the night. So if you open up the left menu, it's got a button with a clock on it, and you just okay. I'm sorry, we have to go backwards a bit on that. The first thing we're going to do is go to the location window, the top button there, and type in your location. For me it's Harare. For me it's Harare, Eastern Africa. It's actually Southern Africa, but and you see it immediately clocks in our time there. And then just take off the tick where it says get location from network, and then type in your location again, Harare, and then use current as default. Put a tick by that use current location as default, and you can close that location dialog box now. And now you can see we're actually present time in Harare. If you go to the lower menu, the lower button panel, towards the right hand side, there's a down arrow, there's a play button, there's some fast forward and rewind buttons. Just click the down arrow button, and that should get us to the present moment. How can we check this? Okay, if you go to, it should have the time there. I can check on my cell phone just here to see it's 6:27 in the evening. That's correct. But if you're a bit forward, now we can see the menu buttons clearly against the darker background. Go to the date time window and just click forward a couple of hours, like to 8:30 in the evening, and then you can see the down button there is grayed out. That button, it says over here that it is the set time now, and you can just click it and we'll immediately go back to 6:30 in the evening. So if you want to go forward slowly, you click the increase time speed a couple of times, and the more times you move it, and then you can press play to go to normal time rate, and you can go faster, and you can start to see the sky moving. This is what we talk about in astronomy, is how the wheel turns. Anyway, now we've got an evening sky. Isn't it lovely? And you can just drag your field of view around. And now we're looking north. Okay, that's given you a bit of a feel for it. If you need to exit the program, just click that button there, quit. And now we're going to explore the program and the night sky in a little more detail. Firstly, I'd like you to go to the configuration window, and then we want to go to information, extras. Go to extras and then turn on, tick asterism lines, asterism labels, show additional buttons. This section says ecliptic grid and compass marks. So it'll just give us a few more buttons at the bottom here. Nebula background. Let's try those ones. Okay. So now we've got a few more buttons at the bottom here, and that's all set up. And just for argument's sake, we're at 8 o'clock in the 10 to 9 in the evening there. 10 to 9 on the 25th of July, today. And we're in Harare. So that's important to note, because a bit later we're going to go to the northern hemisphere and have a look what the sky looks like there. So we've got a few familiar names coming up. We're now looking south again. Okay, so I'm just wondering, how are we going to tackle this? Okay, let's turn on constellation lines and just leave it there for a moment. So if you click, we're looking here at this cross. We can actually zoom in on it a bit by scrolling the wheel mouse forward, and there we've got a closer view of that cross. This is the Southern Cross, and above it are the 2 pointers. These two bright stars here are the 2 pointers. The larger the star, the brighter it is in our field of vision. So if we go from what's at the bottom of the cross here, A crux, the constellation name, if you just flick the constellation name on quickly, constellation labels, it says the Southern Cross. However, in astronomy it's also called crux. I think that's the Latin for cross. Crux. That's why the brightest star gets a alpha crux, and if you click on the star you get a long detailed list of information about that particular star, and it indicates a lot of different things. Alpha 1 crux, CRU stands for crux, alpha 1 crucis, alpha 1 crux. And it's also got an alpha 2 there, which may mean it's a binary double star. They call it a binary star sometimes. It's a double star. If we zoom in on this, we might actually get a feel for that double star. There we go. There you can see it's actually a double star. There's the one star. And yeah. Okay. So zoom back out a bit. Acrux, Becrux, Gacrux, and Decrux. And it's interesting if you just right click to get rid of the information and left click on the star to get the information. If you're into your Star Trek, you'll probably recall that the galaxy in Star Trek is divided up into the Alpha Quadrant, beta quadrant, gamma quadrant, and delta quadrant. And in the same way, crux is divided up into those stars. Acrux, Becrux, which they call Mimosa here, Gacrux and Dacrux, Delta Crucis. And the pointers, Rigel, Centaurus, and Hadar. So zooming out a bit, if you're looking at it in the night sky, and you draw a line that goes down there to this point, and you bisect the pointers to meet that line over at that point, and then you drop a line to the horizon, that'll give you south. And you can see we've actually got south there, to confirm that somewhere here you draw your imaginary lines through the pointers and the long arm of the cross, and where they meet to your left, I suppose, is where south is if you drop a line to the horizon. So that's one thing that you can think about, is how do you find south from the night sky? And you'd use the Southern Cross and the pointers. Now, how do we find north from the night sky? So in order to tell you about that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our location window, and we're going to go to London. We're going to go to London, Northern Europe. Okay, so it's still light in London, but that's fine. Use current location as default. There we go. And we're in London. Okay. Now we want to go a few hours later in the evening, so that the sky gets a bit darker, and we want to go and look at the north. Drag around to the north. There we go. We got north. Okay. Now this here is the pole star, Polaris. I know that because I'm acquainted with some of the stars. However, one of the constants in the northern hemisphere is the Great Bear, which is this constellation. If we turn on the labels briefly, it says the Great Bear. It's also known as the Plough. It's also known as the Big Dipper. It's got various names. The Great Bear, and in more astronomy lingo, they call it the Ursa Majoris, Ursa Major, the Great Bear. So the brightest star will be Alpha Ursa Majoris, which is shortened to UMA there. Alpha, the Greek letter Alpha, Ursa Majoris. And it's also got the more common name Dubhe. So what I want you to do is draw a line from Merak, which is that star, imaginary line, and extend it up into the sky. And it points directly at Polaris. The bright star you get to is the North Star. It's called Polaris. There's an interesting one. There's a satellite. It's a Starlink satellite. That's why this subject is so fascinating, because there's so much happening. You might think that the stars are a constant, but they're just not. The other way to find, I'll have to check up on this one, but it's something like you draw a line through the W of Cassiopeia, especially if Ursa Major is setting or beneath the horizon, and you draw a line, imaginary line, through imagining the wide V of Cassiopeia, the W of the night sky, and you draw a line through it and you extend it through the mouth of the V there, and you'll get to Polaris. And then you drop a line to the horizon, and that's where you'll find your north on the horizon. So either you use the Great Bear method, or you use the Cassiopeia W method, and that way you'll find your north in the night sky. Okay, so there's also things like you've got constellation art that populates the sky with different ideograms, or whatever they're called, pictograms that represent each of the constellations. Like the Great Bear is represented by a big bear there, and Cassiopeia is the queen on her throne. stuff like that. And we can just turn that off until we've got the stars showing there. And the other thing we can do is we can look at constellation boundaries. So if you turn on your constellation lines, you will also see that they have like a map that cuts up the sky like a puzzle piece in each of the constellations. Okay. Isn't that an amazing subject? Okay. Let's go back to location window and let's get back to Harare. Let's go back to Harare and just put, how do we get there? Do we click on there? Yeah, we click on there. And then click on use current location as default. And then we'll just turn off the constellation boundaries and the constellation lines. And we've got, what was I thinking of earlier? Let's look south again. And you can see we're later at night, so we want to just present time that again. You'll see the Southern Cross was setting there. Field of view, frames per second, date and time, plus or minus universal time. You've got the equatorial grid there, the azimuthal grid, I don't even know what that really means, but it looks familiar, and the ecliptic grid. And then you've got ground, it takes away the horizon and just leaves you with a compass. And then you've got atmosphere. And look at how we can see the Milky Way when the atmosphere is turned off. And during the day, if we go during the day there, if we go back a few hours until we're doing 12:30 during the day, and you can see if we put the atmosphere on, then the blue sky is represented with the beautiful field and the horizon. If we turn the atmosphere off, it's like being in the daytime, but you can see all the stars of the night sky. So that's that. And let's go back to present time, is it? That button there is good to know. And then you've got compass marks, so you can see the degrees that you're looking south or north. All that sort of thing. And deep sky objects. This is one of the most fascinating ones. The two things that I really wanted to introduce you to in this video are deep sky objects and asterisms. If you turn on asterisms, you'll get the feel of how populated the star is with names, like the teapot and the milk dipper. If we zoom in on the teapot and milk dipper, which are what you call asterisms, there they are. And if we turn off the deep sky objects for a moment, and we just look at asterism lines there, you'll see it's a bit upside down, or it's a bit tilted upwards, but the teapot actually looks like a teapot, and that's what we call the teapot of Sagittarius. Oh look, there's another Starlink satellite. I just imagined it was, and it actually is a Starlink satellite. But half the time it'll be a Starlink satellite. And the milk dipper is like a jug of milk. And this is the constellation of Sagittarius, the Archer. So let's take away our asterisms and instead put on our constellation lines and labels. And there you can see the Archer, also known as Sagittarius, and the teapot is actually part of that. So an asterism isn't an official constellation. It's a lesser name, a lesser figure, although some of them can be huge. The constellation is the main thing that people talk about. Asterisms are nice to know, but they're not essential to the subject. So that's constellations and asterisms. And then you've got, if we go back to the Southern Cross, then we have We'll zoom in a bit on the Southern Cross and put constellation lines on. And then we'll turn on the deep sky objects. And there you can see interesting ones like the coal sack, which is there, the coal sack cluster, and the jewel box cluster. They really lend a kind of language to the whole palaver. I love the names, and apparently there's a sort of obscuration of the stars behind it. A very dark place in the night sky called the coal sack, in the constellation of Crux, if you want to turn on your constellation labels there, the Southern Cross. Anyway, we've gone over time, and we'll leave it at that for tonight. Anyway, you've had a good look at Stellarium, and some of the features and some of how useful it is. Just to finish off, we'll if you click on, let's turn off those. That's the ground. Let's turn off the deep sky objects, and we haven't even covered planets yet, but we certainly will in due course. Yes. So if you click on a star, where's our? We're quite lost. There's the Southern Cross. There's Acrux. A good star to know. If you click on this button, it'll center that star in the field of view here. And there's another button here which will give you, if you're out looking at the stars with your device, you can click on this button which is night mode. So you can still see clearly at night without bright lights around you. And then this one gives you full screen mode off and full screen mode on. Okay, that's my introduction to Stellarium. I hope you enjoyed it. Rigel Centaurus, Hadar, Acrux, etc. and the night sky. Venus is already set by now, but yeah, Venus is a planet, even though they call it the morning star and the evening star. It's actually a planet, Venus the planet. But we'd have to go a bit back for that. We'd have to turn off the atmosphere, and we'd have to go back a few hours to about 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then we'd have to look west, and there you can see Venus. Venus is there, and we center it in our field of view. There we go. There you can see Venus, and it says it's a planet, the evening star. It's also the morning star, which rises early in the morning. Venus, the sun, it's actually got the sun. Look, you can actually click on the sun there. And Jupiter. Those are planets. And they're some of the brightest objects in our night sky alongside the moon. Okay, so there we have it, Stellarium, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction. The video continues a little bit further as we do a bit of advertising and looking at a bit of artwork. So if you've got another 10 minutes to spare, you can continue to the end of the video. Okay, so here we are on Linux Mint, and that was the app Stellarium and the night sky. And my wallpaper here is a Bing wallpaper, a Bing image of the Carina Nebula. It's called Cosmic something. Change desktop background. It's called Cosmic Cliffs. If you Google Bing image Cosmic Cliffs, you'll find it. Okay, and I thought of thinking of the constellation art and stuff like that. One is inevitably drawn to the art of this piece of art by Vincent van Gogh called Starry Night, and it's so evocative. It's so interesting as a piece of art in itself. But if you've got an interest in stargazing, it brings the subject to life in a way that nothing else can. That's Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. And it's a Google Art Project image that's available on Wiki Commons. If you Google Van Gogh Starry Night, you'll find the Wiki Commons download page for this image. So there we have it, Van Gogh Starry Night. So I've got a few things on my desk to help us along with some references. If you interested in the subject, they're good references to know. I'll just show you the covers so you've got an idea of what the references look like on the subject. The Night Sky Almanac, a Stargazer's Guide to 2026. Red Miller, Topper, Lovick and Dominic Ford. And this one I've actually read from cover to cover. It's a beautiful read. Written in the Stars, Constellations, Fact and Folklore by Alison Davies. And it goes through all 88 constellations. It's just a wonderful volume. And then our Van Gogh painting there. And then I'll just flick through the covers of these magazines. This is all of them are different journals and magazines from August of this year, 2026. You can just see the covers. We're coming up next month. I think it's on the 12th of August to a summer eclipse in the northern hemisphere. Look out for that if you're in the northern hemisphere. That's BBC Sky at Night magazine. And then these three have got astronomy in the name. Astronomy magazine. It's just called Astronomy. It's a journal or a magazine. Astronomy. And Astronomy Now. AN, Astronomy Now. It's also August 2026. The solar eclipse from the UK. So you can really find some good resources on the subject these days. And this one's Free Astronomy Magazine, bi-monthly magazine of scientific and technical information. It's actually July, August 2026, that one. So there you have it. Those are some of the resources that you can find available on the subject. And just like you can find some free software in the form of Stellarium or Stellarium, and some wallpapers to help inspire you, and some artwork. That's about it from me. You'll find me at jnwakeling.com, jnwakeling, Jonathan Nicholas Wakeling, jnwakeling.com, and I'm here on my Linux Mint at NASA at Big Tree Harare. Have a wonderful evening and a good Saturday night. Thanks for watching.